In the future, the world has fallen into chaos after humans have used up all natural resources. To keep humanity alive, scientists first created genetically modified orchids that are a new natural energy source. However, even that doesn't stop people from fighting over their differences. In response, the scientists also created a surgical procedure to enhance people's appearance, called the transformation, designed to make everyone physically perfect, hoping that with everyone looking the same, there would be no more conflict. The procedure is done when someone turns 16, allowing them to move into the city where they live as pretties, free from the negative traits of ordinary people like jealousy, insecurity, and anger. However, those under 16 are labeled as uglies and must stay in Uglyville, a place across the river where they eagerly await their turn to become beautiful and join the pretties. In Uglyville, located just outside Pretty Town, we meet Tally and her best friend Paris, both considered uglies. However, Paris is 3 months older than Tally and is scheduled to undergo the transformation the next day. Tally, on the other hand, still has about 2 months left until she turns 16 and can have the surgery too. Before Paris's procedure, we learn that Tally and Paris have matching scars on their hands, symbolizing their long-lasting friendship. These scars represent their bond, and they make a pact to keep them even after the surgery. They promise to remain close friends, no matter what the transformation changes, and agree to reunite once they've both had the surgery. Until then, Paris assures Tally that they will stay in touch while she waits for her 16th birthday. The next morning, Paris leaves Tally behind in Uglyville and heads to Pretty Town for his surgery. Tally, anxious to see Paris again, texts him almost every day but never gets any response from Paris. Tally becomes obsessed with the idea of becoming pretty and often uses an app on her mirror to imagine what she'll look like after the transformation. After a month of waiting, Tally decides to sneak into Pretty Town to visit Paris. Since uglies like Tally aren't allowed in Pretty Town, she disguises herself using a costume she picks up from a parade. When she arrives, she finds that Pretty Town is just as beautifully lively as always, with people partying day and night. When Tally finally finds Paris, she is shocked by how much he has changed, not just in appearance, but in personality too. The scar they promised to keep is gone, which leaves Tally feeling disappointed. To make matters worse, Paris doesn't seem thrilled to see her either. He tells Tally that once she undergoes the surgery, she'll feel at peace with herself, and only then can they reunite. For now, he insists she stays in Uglyville, and they shouldn't meet again until after her transformation. Their conversation is abruptly interrupted when the security system detects her presence, forcing Tally to make a quick escape. She ends up trapped on a balcony but manages to grab a bungee jacket and leaps off. Although the fall is long, the jacket makes her bounce, allowing her to land safely nearby. Tally escapes the city and crawls back under the bridge. However, when she accidentally kicks a stone into the water, a drone spots her and moves in to arrest her. Just then, her classmate Shay appears and urges Tally to hop on her hoverboard. They take off, flying away to avoid capture. The drone tries to keep up, but Shay, being a skilled rider, performs wild twists and turns through the woods, eventually losing it. After this daring escape, Tally and Shay grow close, and they soon discover they share the same birthday, meaning they will undergo surgery on the same day when they turn 16. But unlike Tally, Shay is unsure if she wants the surgery. She mentions that she might prefer to live in a place called The Smoke, a community of outlaws led by a mysterious figure named David. In The Smoke, people live away from the strict society rules, embracing their natural selves, where everyone is treated equally and valued for who they are. As time passes, Tally and Shay teach each other different tricks and hacks. Shay introduces Tally to the hoverboard, a flying device that uses magnetism to stay in the air. They spend their days mastering tricks and playing games, enjoying their last bit of fun before the surgery. However, while Tally is excited about becoming pretty, Shay remains hesitant. She challenges the idea that people need surgery to be beautiful, saying she embraces her natural features and wishes Tally could do the same. The night before their scheduled surgeries, Shay visits Tally and offers her a way out. She reveals that beyond the rusty ruins, remnants of an old civilization that collapsed due to its overdependence on oil, there is a place where people live free from the pressure of surgery. Tally had always believed the smoke was just a myth, but Shay insists it's real and offers to take her there. After removing the tracking rings from their fingers, Tally and Shay ride their hoverboards across the river, crossing into a new territory. They eventually arrive at the ruins of an ancient city, where Shay excitedly tells Tally about relics from the past, like roller coasters. She then leads Tally into an abandoned building and reveals the truth that the smoke is real, and David will be arriving soon. Shay urges Tally to join her, explaining that in the smoke, they would have true freedom and wouldn't need to change for anyone, even if it meant never officially becoming pretty. However, Tally isn't convinced and politely declines the offer, still wanting to reunite with Paris in Pretty Town. Disappointed, Shay gives Tally directions to the smoke in case she ever wants to reconsider and shares a heartfelt hug before leaving on her hoverboard, following the glow of David's fire in another building. While Shay makes her decision to avoid the surgery, Tally says goodbye and commits to Pretty Dom. On her 16th birthday, Tally wakes up filled with excitement for her surgery. However, when the time comes, everyone is called except for her. A guard then takes her away in an aircraft to meet Dr. Cable, who informs her that Shay is missing. Tally claims she knows nothing about it, but Cable can see on a monitor that her vitals suggest she's not being truthful. Dr. Cable explains that Shay is in danger, claiming that David has brainwashed her and is notorious for holding people against their will. Despite Tally's insistence that she's unaware of anything, Cable ultimately sends her back to her dorm without allowing her to undergo the surgery. That night, Tally is startled by a noise and looks over to find Paris at her window. She quickly explains everything that has happened, and Paris urges her to tell Dr. Cable what she knows so they can finally be together. The following day, Tally is taken back to see Cable, who reveals that David is working on a weapon intended to attack the city. She asks Tally to infiltrate the smoke and gather information. Tally agrees to help, and Cable promises that if she succeeds, she will be allowed to have the surgery. Before Tally leaves, Cable hands her a necklace that lights up, instructing her to activate it when she locates the weapon. Afterward, Tally follows Shay's directions and rides her hoverboard along an old roller coaster track for several miles. Eventually, she finds an opening and falls into the woods, but she is stopped by a force field. In this area, she discovers abandoned train tracks that she must follow to reach the smoke. For the next few days, Tally survives in the wild, drawing inspiration from a book she read, and finds herself appreciating nature like never before. She even climbs a mountain along the way. However, the train tracks have a large gap over a deep chasm. Determined, Tally gets back on her hoverboard and makes a daring jump that causes the board to shut off mid-air. As she begins to fall rapidly, the hoverboard suddenly reactivates, allowing her to land safely on the other side of the chasm. Now, according to the instructions, she must wait in a field of flowers. Meanwhile, Cable brings Paris into her office, revealing that he visited her dorm at her request. Paris shares that being back in town felt refreshing, almost as if it cleared his mind. Cable then informs him that a select group has been chosen for a new procedure, and Paris eagerly agrees to enter the surgery machine for body enhancements. That night, Tally wakes up coughing due to smoke. She realizes that the field is on fire and feels panicked about what to do. Just then, a mysterious figure appears, picks her up, and carries her away. This is David, who begins scanning Tally and her belongings for trackers. He finds one hidden in her hoverboard and removes it, but his scanner doesn't react to the necklace. Meanwhile, Cable's team receives an alert that the tracker has been removed, prompting her to send search teams into the area. In the morning, David and Tally arrive at a smoke outpost where Tally is thrilled to reunite with Shay. Shay is overjoyed to see her, but Croy, another member of the group, seems suspicious. As the group sets up camp for the night, Shay asks about the necklace, prompting Tally to lie and say it was a gift from Paris. Tally is taken aback by Shay's happiness, especially after what Cable had said, and she tries to voice her concerns. This leads Shay to believe that Tally has come to persuade her to return, resulting in a heated argument. Ultimately, Tally decides to give the smoke a chance and see where it leads. The next day, Tally discovers that the smoke intentionally starts fires to burn the orchids, which are actually toxic and ruin the soil wherever they're planted. Initially, Tally doesn't believe this and argues that the orchids were a clean energy solution. However, David explains that this is a government myth and that the flowers are transforming the planet into a wasteland. He invites Tally to join their mission to uncover the truth despite Croy's objections. Fortunately, Shay supports Tally, and the group uses an old helicopter they've retrofitted with solar panels for their flight. As they soar above, Tally sees the land where the orchids once thrived, now reduced to nothing but barren desert. Shay uses a flamethrower to incinerate as many orchids as she can. Suddenly, Croy's tablet alerts them that someone is approaching, so David quickly lowers the helicopter to hide in the smoke. In the commotion, the rope holding Shay snaps, causing her to fall. As Cable's scouts draw nearer, Tally quickly ties a bag to the end of the rope for added weight and throws it overboard, then uses it to climb down. The helicopter begins to lose lift as Tally searches desperately for Shay among the flames. Fortunately, she spots her just in time. When a scout tries to get closer, Tally grabs the burning bag and hurls it at him. The two girls then cling to the rope as the helicopter lifts off, narrowly escaping just before a scout can jump aboard. After the group lands, Croy accuses Tally of being the reason the scouts found them, but Shay defends her, insisting that anyone willing to risk their life for the smoke deserves a chance. As the group sets up camp for the night, Tally struggles to sleep, her mind preoccupied with thoughts of Cable and how she manipulated the rebels. Seeking a distraction, she steps outside for a walk and accidentally stumbles upon David bathing in the river, prompting her to retreat back to the tent in embarrassment. The next day, Tally is blindfolded and finally taken to the smoke, where she discovers a thriving community in harmony with nature. At first, Tally thinks life here is harder than in the city, but she soon realizes that food tastes better when you grow it yourself. In this community, even the elderly contribute, and there's no money. Instead, resources are shared or traded. Most importantly, everyone is there by choice. The community recycles train tracks to create tools, but they refrain from making weapons because they are pacifists. One afternoon, Tally discovers a strange door and attempts to peek inside, but Croy catches her and sends her away. Determined to contribute, Tally starts using tools to assist with the tracks, experiences spicy food for the first time, and joins in the joyful dances around the fire. Sometime later, David teaches Tally how to use a hunting crossbow, and they have a great time together. After a few attempts, she finally hits the practice target. As they head back, David shares that he has never seen the city, as he was born in the wild and raised by his family. Tally is taken aback, as she barely knows anything about her own parents. David then gifts Tally a pair of gloves. Just then, a member of the smoke returns from burning orchids, injured, and informs them that the scouts are still nearby. She explains that these scouts are faster and stronger than usual. Afterward, Shay notices Tally wearing the gloves and emphasizes their significance. In their community, objects hold different values, and since David made the gloves, giving them to Tally indicates that he has feelings for her. Shay urges Tally to make a choice and stop leading them on. During their next walk, Tally mentions hearing rumors about a weapon designed to destroy the city. Intrigued, David decides to take her to a house located far from the camp to discuss it further. There, Tally meets David's parents, Az and Maddie, who guard all the books. They used to be cosmetic surgeons for the government, but grew suspicious after noticing certain tests, prompting them to investigate further. They discovered that the physical transformations were merely a facade to conceal the fact that people's brains were being altered as well. Becoming a pretty meant losing intelligence and becoming docile under a false sense of happiness, making it easier for the state to control them. The operation has also resulted in many deaths, which were kept hidden. When Cable realized that Az and Maddie were onto the truth, she seized all their research. Those working for the state, including doctors, were given a cure to ensure they could think clearly while performing their jobs. As a result, David's parents chose to escape the city and live out their lives naturally in the woods. They've been searching for a way to recreate the cure, but there's a synthetic component they lack, leaving them with only a basic serum. This serum is the so-called weapon that could potentially destroy the city. After their meeting concludes, Tally decides to throw her necklace into the fire, symbolizing her choice to stay with the smoke. She tries to confess to David about her past mistakes, but he reassures her that it doesn't matter because she is a new person now. They then share a kiss, and, as they do, the necklace sparks in the flames. The following morning, city aircraft arrive at the smoke and open fire. Chaos erupts as everyone begins to flee, but the scouts pursue them, only to be ensnared by the traps set in advance, like nets and logs. Unfortunately, the scouts are too fast and strong, and the traps aren't enough to stop them. Before long, the scouts capture every rebel on their path, including Shay. Tally finds a hiding spot with David, who wants to rush out to help, but she stops him, insisting they're too powerful for him to confront. The two sneak over to where the prisoners are being gathered, and Tally is heartbroken to see that Paris has joined the scouts. Just then, Az and Maddie are captured, and Cable arrives, demanding to know David's whereabouts. When the parents refuse to divulge any information, Cable orders Paris to kill Az. David and Tally rush out to intervene, but they're too late. Cable then declares to everyone that Tally has been working for her, turning the other members of the smoke against her. While everyone is distracted, Maddie secretly hides the serum in David's pocket. As Cable announces that everyone will undergo the surgery, Tally seizes the opportunity to dash to the supply shack and starts a fire. She grabs a crossbow and escapes through the window just as a scout tries to break in. The fire soon leads to an explosion, knocking the scout back and giving David a chance to escape as well. However, another scout pursues him, but Tally manages to stop him with an arrow. Paris expresses a desire to join the chase, but Cable declares that they are leaving. Meanwhile, some scouts destroy Maddie's research and set the area ablaze, while others force all the prisoners onto the aircraft. After the scouts leave, David scavenges what supplies he can find for a rescue mission. When Tally tries to approach him, he instinctively attacks her with a knife, barely stopping himself from inflicting harm. Tally insists that she wants to help him save the others, but David expresses his distrust, pointing out that he no longer believes in her. She reminds him that he needs her, especially since he has never been to the city. Later, in the city, Tally finds the students who read Shay's book and introduces them to David as proof that the smoke is real. She borrows an interface ring from them and asks them to gather a large group of kids to create a distraction. Soon, a crowd of teenagers takes to the sky on their hoverboards, writing the smoke leaves in bold letters. Meanwhile, David and Tally wait for the aircraft to depart from the clinic before using their hoverboards to sneak inside. They glide through the aircraft tunnel and land safely, thanks to their bungee vests. As they navigate carefully, Tally uses the ring to try to hack a lock, but soon realizes this isn't just a kitchen, and it doesn't work. Suddenly, a pretty opens the door, prompting David to engage him in a fight. They exchange blows until David gains the upper hand and pins him against the wall, allowing Tally to take his ring. David then tosses the pretty into the corridor, and Tally quickly locks the door. With alarms blaring, the duo locates the cell and uses the ring to free all the prisoners. However, Tally soon discovers that Shay is missing, and Croy reveals that she has already undergone the surgery. While most of the group manages to escape, David, Tally, and Maddie search for Shay, but when they reach the lab, it's too late. Shay has already become a pretty. Tally breaks down in tears and apologizes, but Shay insists that she loves her new appearance. Just then, Cable and Paris arrive and order the trio to step into the machines for their surgeries. As the process begins, just before the needles can cut, the Smoke's helicopter appears outside, and Croy opens fire with a flamethrower. Forced to flee, Cable and Paris abandon the machines, causing them to malfunction and the operation to halt. The trio quickly emerges, with Tally reaching for Shay, while Maddie retrieves the necessary component from a cupboard. The group races to the roof and spots Paris. Tally tries to jog his memory about their close friendship and the person he once was. She points out a shard of glass embedded in his hand and reminds him that the scar they both share represents their bond. As Paris gently touches Tally's face, David misinterprets it as a threat and tackles Paris, attempting to fight him. Paris, however, proves too strong and begins to overpower David. Just as it seems he might seriously hurt him, Tally grabs a hoverboard and speeds toward Paris, tackling him and causing him to fall over the edge. He manages to hold on for a moment, calling out her nickname before plummeting into a nearby waterfall. Afterward, the group escapes on their hoverboards, witnessing other teens causing the drones to crash into one another in the sky. They find refuge in an abandoned city, where Maddie retrieves the serum from David's pocket to complete the cure. However, She is uncertain whether it will work or if it might have adverse effects on the brain. Shay is hesitant to take it and refuses to pressure anyone else into doing so, so Tally steps up to be the test subject. She decides to turn herself in and undergo the surgery, promising to signal to the group afterward to let them know if the cure is effective. With the aircraft and cable approaching, they say their final goodbyes, and the group flees while Tally allows the scouts to arrest her. Later, Tally finds herself as the perfect pretty, living in a lavish apartment. She declares that she loves her new life, but the scar on her hand betrays her true self, revealing that she is lying and acting as a spy. And that's where the movie ends. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more recaps. See you in the next one.